Welcome to my very first devlog. In this devlog series, I aim to cover all the highs and lows I encountered whilst working on my up-and-coming solo project titled The Master Labyrinth. This game will be an action RPG game packed with tons of RNG, questing, combat, and hopefully an immersive storyline. I've been working on this game for 1.5 years now, and I know what you're thinking. Why is it taking you this long to make a devlog? Well, for a number of reasons, but hey, better late than never. You suck, you jackass. Cue the intro. Alrighty, before we get too carried away, let's start at the beginning. Now sit back and relax, as I will be your captain for this evening. During the initial stages of figuring out what sort of game I wanted to make and what genre and audience I wanted to target, I spent an embarrassingly long and exhaustive amount of time trying to figure out which genres are in the highest demand, what people are currently into, and who would be my target audience. And then it hit me. I wanted to make a game that I would enjoy. Not only that I would actually want to play. There are currently so many amazing and great games on the market, but none of which that I actually enjoy playing. And you know, being a gamer who has played a ton of games from a young age, I was positive that whichever idea that I came up with would definitely resonate with a demographic that grew up playing similar games. From there, I knew I had a solid foundation to begin brainstorming ideas. Initially, I drew inspiration from the Saw movies, mainly because I really liked the idea behind narrating why the character was captured based on the horrible things they committed in their past. Which is what I aim to portray in my game. Completing each level will give you more of an insight of the character's past.
I'm an electrician.
Next up is the movie Maze Runner. Now this movie was a big inspiration for me in figuring out how I wanted to design the overall layout of the game. I really like the idea of a maze or a labyrinth that contains a number of hidden traps and secret passages that the player will need to overcome in order to escape the deadly maze. And as a result, I came up with the name The Master's Labyrinth. The Master being Jigsaw and the labyrinth being the deadly maze the player will need to brave. Now when it comes to drawing inspiration from a video game, look no further than the legendary Crash Bandicoot games. This franchise has been one of the most exciting and aesthetically pleasing games ever released. I was inspired by the silly themed levels, clever designs, and exciting gameplay. The design of each level is both unique and challenging, which is something I hope to replicate in my own game. Another game that stood out for me was Spyro. Having grown up spending hundreds of hours playing this game, it was definitely a no-brainer drawing inspiration from this game. The thing I liked the most about this game was how simple and creative each level was. I really enjoyed the exploration and combat that Spyro offers, which is why this game was a huge inspiration for my project. Also, I really like the storyline and the aesthetics that the game provides. An old classic that really hits home is Ape Escape. This was one of my favorite games growing up, as this game was super difficult and I really enjoyed the chaotic storyline. Also, there were a ton of hidden gems, which is something I plan on implementing in my game. Now for the main source of inspiration, not only for my project, but for game development as a whole, the infamous World of Warcraft. I've been playing WoW for almost 15 years or so, and I've enjoyed every moment of it. Besides all of the great features of this game, such as combat, questing, storyline, and a rewarding sense of progression, the main feature that I really enjoyed about WoW is the smoothness and ease of control and movement of the character. Out of all the games that I've played, the movement on World of Warcraft is by far the best and most comfortable of any game I've played. Hence why I work tirelessly in order to ensure my game has excellent and smooth movement that players can enjoy. Anyway, enough about the backstory. Let's dig into what I've been working on. So our journey begins as any good journey begins, and that is with animation. Psych! Whoa. Pump the brakes there, cowboy. Let's actually start from the beginning. Our journey actually begins with modeling. Now I know what you're thinking. Modeling? Do you mean this kind of modeling? Well, not exactly. What I actually mean is this kind of modeling. Oh wait, nope, not this one either. What I actually meant was this kind of modeling. Now, designing your character and figuring out how you want them to look and what design you want to go with can be a very difficult and time-consuming experience. Now, I'm no genius or modeling expert, but basically what I did was I just created a simple, very simple design, and then from there I built up the characters and basically based the characteristics and the design around my mates. After spending way too much time fiddling around and designing the base model, I was finally happy with it and I was in the position to begin designing the individual characters. Now I was going to go through and demonstrate how I created all of these characters, but we'd be here for way too long and I don't think anybody has the time for that. Perhaps that could be something for a future video, who knows. Now if you want to shave at least 15 years off your life expectancy, then weight painting is the thing for you. Weight painting is one of those unavoidable things that you need to do with your model, otherwise the model doesn't work with the rig and it just looks silly. Not only did this process make absolutely no sense when I first started doing it, but it also took me a very long time to get it right, going back and forth between Unity and Blender just to get things right because the weights were incorrect. Was really a tedious and long process. Now I know some of you watching are going, weight painting is not really that hard. Well, maybe I just suck, or I'm a dummy, either one. Now once I was done with the weight painting, it was time to get stuck into some UV editing. Or put simply, it was time to start painting the models. But before I get ahead of myself, I want to give a huge shout out to Infenzia. His Blender tutorials have been a massive asset to my project. On his channel you can find all things Blender related, from modeling, rigging, weight painting, UV editing and so on and so forth. Now this isn't a sponsored advertisement, but I really liked his work, so if you get a chance, go and check out his channel. Alrighty, now back to the devlog. Initially I tried to paint the models using textures and using a paintbrush and getting really artsy and fancy with it, but that didn't really work out for me. I really just wanted a very simple design, very simple colors, and UV editing allowed me to do that with ease really. I know what you're thinking, I could have probably painted it and it would have looked much more professional and much better looking, but it doesn't look too bad. Now if you know me, you will know that I'm very indecisive and there is a very good chance that later on during the project I will go back and I will have to paint these textures again. But we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Ah yes, now we move on to animation. The fabled animation. Animation is one of those things that I revisited many times during my project, and no matter how many times I thought I got it right, I had to go back and fix it up over and over again. Which isn't bad, but after a while it gets pretty tedious. Nonetheless, I stayed true to the cause and I made sure I didn't cut any corners. I made sure I dotted every I and crossed every T before moving on to the next section. Now if you're anything like me and you would rather work smarter rather than harder, I opted for a character controller from the Unity asset store. Now before people attack me in the comments about using a Unity asset to develop my project, I'd like to say that I don't mind using Unity assets. It's game developers supporting other game developers. It's much easier to just get a Unity asset than to sit there and spend hours and hours trying to figure it all out. And you know what? Even if I had spent 100 hours trying to develop a character controller, it would not come close to how good this one is.
So get off my back!
Now what I'm about to show you might disgust you. I present to you my disgustingly hairy animation controller.
Ew!
Even though it looks really ugly, and I know there are much better ways to go about animating your characters, but this is actually quite easy to follow and it was very scalable. This animated controller kept me up for many nights. Keep in mind I had to do this for 9 separate characters, all with unique abilities and characteristics. So yeah, I had a great time. As I mentioned before, I didn't want to cut any corners, so for each character I made sure I animated every unique movement. Some of these animations include dancing,
Oh yeah, work it! Shake that money maker!
also animating different states such as armed or unarmed, whether the character was idle or running or jumping, which mind you required a lot of coding to seamlessly integrate with the animated states. I also added in little details such as a potion popping up when drinking a potion and food popping up when eating food. Stun effects were also added. Now the stun animation on its own is not enough. I needed to make sure that the characters were immobilized and could not move whilst they were stunned or cast any abilities. Otherwise, what's the point of a stun? Crikey, what have we got here? That doesn't look right at all. What fun would it be if you could run at maximum speed at all times, hence why slowing effects were added to the game. It's important to note, in order to implement a lot of these functionalities, I had to go back and make some major changes to the character controller. Now, there was a ton of other things I wanted to show you, but unfortunately we've run out of time. Anyway, stay tuned for the next episode for some more updates. Now, if you made it to the end of the video, thank you, I really appreciate it. Being an indie developer and developing the game on my own and making these videos, it takes a lot of time, so I appreciate it. If you want to follow me on my game dev journey, hit that subscribe button. Or if you're feeling really naughty, maybe hit that like button or leave a comment. Either way, I still love you. Until next time.
Come in at the place, I make the dance all hot.